Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm super excited to dive into today's conversation with Valerie Eidson. Now, she's a fine art photographer in Asheville, North Carolina. She focuses on families, newborns, and seniors, as well as custom creative images. She's got a background in fashion design and digital media and has been photographing for the past 7 years. She's a Click Pro Elite ambassador for the NAPCP and has won first place at NAPCP International Image Competition in the child and senior categories, and most recently received a silver merit in the family category in the Portrait Masters Image Competition. I've been following her, I think, forever on Instagram, and I am so excited to dive into today's conversation. So welcome, Valerie.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So it is so wonderful to have you on the show. Now, can you share maybe a little bit about your background in fashion design and digital media and how it sort of maybe led you to pursue a career in photography?
Sure, absolutely. I guess to start that story, I'll back up a little further. I was always into art and design growing up, and I had wanted to be an animator for Disney. I really set those, lofty aspirations and actually went to school for that, but got in there and realized that that wasn't really the thing for me, but I still really loved computer design and design in general. So when I graduated, I really didn't have a focus on anything. I ended up going to fashion design school. And I really, really loved that. I mean, it was so fun. I learned all about color theory and textures and styling and continued using Photoshop and all these wonderful creative aspects that I really love to do. And I went to fashion school in New York City, lived there for 2 years, and just never really found my fit there. I'm a small town Southern girl, so moving to the big city by myself was hard. My roommate and I from Parsons School of Design in New York decided we were going to create our own clothing line so we could do it at home. Um, and so we ended up moving to Cincinnati, Ohio, where she is from, and we had a little clothing line we did for 5 years. We had some success along the way, but it was very difficult and we were very young. So after 5 years, we kind of closed our business. And I would say I felt a little lost in those years after. I ended up doing some personal training and working as a project manager at a few businesses, and then got pregnant with my first daughter and decided to stay home and be with her. And I just remember feeling so creatively empty and just
Yes.
feeling like there was something else out there for me that was creative. And only 17 months later, my second daughter came along and I asked for a camera for Christmas. I was like, we should probably invest. We've got a family now. And I remember opening it on Christmas and I was like, I'm never going to learn to use this. And it was just the complete opposite. It was like the perfect culmination of everything I had learned through digital media, animation, fashion design. I mean, I just felt like it was a gift from God. And I was like, this is it. This is my thing. And then here I am 7 years later.
I love it. I love historical fashion. Like that is my jam. And I have like I'm not gonna call it a problem. I'm gonna call it a collection
Sure.
of like costuming. Like I love
Yeah.
costumes so much. Do you find like coming from a fashion background that's something that you're naturally drawn to as well?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I drive my kids nuts because when I want to photograph them, they're like, can I just wear this? And I'm like, mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, a big piece of this photo is what you are wearing. It
Yeah.
helps tell the story but oh yes, colors, the textures, the silhouettes. Yes, I love it.
I love it. I love watching movies and especially historical dramas. Like for me, it's specifically like around between the 1850s to like early 1900s. Like I just love the
Yeah.
fashion and the sets droughts and everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Anything that is super nostalgic like that. It's so funny.
Yes, I
So do
know.
you have a particular era that you're really drawn to?
I really love mid-century.
Yeah.
Like The Marvelous Miss Maisel. I don't know if you've seen
Yes.
that show. I just was
Yes.
swooning the whole time.
Yes. Yes.
And I just
Yes.
wanted to create after watching that. I loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I love it. It's so funny how like those things can really be such a catalyst for inspiration.
Yes.
Yeah. And we were talking a little bit before we got started, how I was mentioning how I often have periods of where I'm like really, really creative, and then periods where I'm like in a creativity drought.
Sure.
And I
Yeah.
think that's really common as creatives, that it's something that we fight it sometimes. And sometimes you just have to realize like it's going to happen, it's going to lean in. So, do you have any techniques when you're finding yourself in a creative drought?
Oh gosh, I know. I'm the same way. It definitely ebbs and flows, and
Mm.
sometimes I want to create, but I don't
Yeah.
have the time.
Yep.
So I have found it's very important to carve out that time. But I would say definitely I draw inspiration when I'm feeling kind of empty from our daily life, just
Yeah.
things that are happening, songs, listening to
Mhm.
music, and like an idea will pop into my head, and definitely TV shows and movies.
Yeah.
Those definitely get you going.
Yeah. I love
And then
it.
sometimes just, I now that I've opened up this world of really creative images, I, for lack of better words, put pressure on myself that every image has to be that.
Yes.
But sometimes just going out in our yard with my kids, like I did when I first started, and just taking simple images will kind of kick that again.
Yeah.
So just going back to the basics.
I love that. I think you hit the nail on the head because we often forget like who we're shooting for. Like
Sure.
we think, like there's like because you put the things that you make in your heart out on social media. And
Exactly.
essentially you're honestly probably looking for like your photography heroes to notice or like to say, wow, like you're doing amazing, right?
Right.
And it's something I think we all aspire to. And then we forget often like these are just sometimes our family memories, or this is a client session,
Right.
and it's okay. It doesn't have to be an award-winning image, but we put that pressure
I
on
know.
ourselves.
Yes. And
I
I
do
do
it.
think, I know, I do think social media is a lot of that. It's the good and the bad
Yep.
of social media, but yeah.
This is what it is. So you're based in Asheville, North Carolina, and it has some beautiful landscapes there. So do you find your surroundings sort of influence your photography style, especially when you're capturing images outdoors?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like you said, it's so beautiful here. Um, the mountains, we have
Yeah.
such pretty nature. And I love layers in a photo and a
Yeah.
lot of depth. And that's really fun and unique to capture here because of the mountains. They're way off in the distance, but then you can usually get something in the foreground like tall, pretty grass or flowers, and then you've got your subject in the middle. And so you have these really beautiful layers and depth. And I that's just one of my favorite things. So,
I love that. I
and then
love
of
that.
course sunsets
Mhm.
over the mountain. You can't beat that.
What's your go-to lens?
Ooh, for outdoors, an 85 millimeter
Ooh, good choice.
1.4.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
I used
that.
to only ever shoot families with a 35, and now it's
Yeah.
the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I rarely take it off when I have an outdoor session.
I love it. I, for the longest time, only shot families with the 200.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was like I was like a mile away.
Sure.
And right? So, but now my sweet lens for outside is my 135. I find it sort of
Okay.
that sweet spot where I get like the yummy blur I want, but
Yeah.
I'm not as far away and having to use a megaphone like the 200. But I tried one time using the 35 during a family session. I
I
felt
know.
like I was sitting in their laps.
I know. I know. Every now and then I'll pop it on to get like a wide, pretty landscape shot. But yeah, I'm the same way. I would love to try 135.
Oh yeah, you got to I love it. It has been my workhorse for probably 14 years now. Like it is
Really?
my baby. Yeah.
I
I've
need
gone
I
through
need to try
two or
one.
three, I think. Well, it's funny because I found out that So when I switched from, I just actually found this out. I have the D5. I'm Nikon. I have the D5.
Okay.
And I switched to the mirrorless recently.
Okay.
And my original 135 lens doesn't actually work on the mirrorless camera from Nikon.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, well, there's another reason I got to upgrade my lenses
There you
again.
go.
The shopping never ends.
It never does. There's always something.
So balancing your creativity and a business can really be challenging. So how do you manage staying inspired creatively while trying to have the demands of running a family and a business?
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely really hard. And as my business has grown, I've had to back off of some of that personal creative work, which is really hard because
Yeah.
that's, you know, where I feel like I learn and grow and, kind of it fulfills me also.
Yeah.
But I really do. I try to carve out, I used to do it weekly, but I just can't anymore, especially as my kids are getting older and into
Yeah.
sports and activities. And I'm coaching my daughter's softball team, which I love. But I try once a month to do something for myself. And I find that that's been a really good balance, just to kind of keep that spark going but be able to keep up with the demands of the other things. Yeah.
I've been trying to carve out some times on Fridays, and then it's funny because sometimes I'll just be like, I think actually I'm just gonna do nothing. Today's just
Yeah.
like a nothing day.
Yeah. Or I need to clean this one room over here, or finally fold this 3 baskets of laundry or
Yep.
something.
Yep. Just attack my ADHD piles.
I know. I know. I
So
know.
we
And
both. Oh,
oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Oh, just
Well,
sometimes, I do feel guilty when I take that time, but I've had to
right?
really retrain my mind to be like, no, like this is an important part of everything,
Yeah.
even my business, and my self-care and things like that. So,
Yeah. It's funny because I really struggle with my personal projects feel indulgent.
hmm
And you know what I mean? And it feels like I
yeah,
am, and it's funny because it really does, it feeds my soul. It makes me so happy. I love to create, but getting over that feeling of I'm being selfish with my time and I should be
right.
spending this time either on my business, my clients, or my family.
Sure.
It's a struggle,
It is.
right?
Yeah. But we deserve it. We got to do
Yeah. Yep.
it.
It's creative self-care. Right?
Yes. We should coin that phrase.
Right? Exactly. We should actually. So we both share a passion for these personal projects. So can you maybe share your process when you come up with a new idea?
Oh, sure. I don't really know if it's a process, but a lot of times, I mean, most of the really creative things I do are around my children.
Mhm.
So I'm just very inspired by them, their imaginations, things that they're really into at the moment. Something about the phase they're in that I want to remember, but in a very magical way. So,
Yeah.
for an example, last year maybe when the musical Matilda came out, my
Yes.
oldest was just loved it and would sing the songs. And she was also in this phase of continuously turning cartwheels.
Yeah.
I mean, she preferred that to walking. And I kept thinking that, gosh, I really want to document these cartwheels somehow. And then when I watched that movie and Matilda was turning cartwheels on the roof of that house, I was like, that's it. So just, pulling that inspiration from my kiddos and things that go through their mind or little phases they're in, really.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I love that you have entered and won so many image competitions. So maybe can you share your getting over the fear of good enough and pressing submit fear that we often all go through?
Sure. Well, I mean, I just always tell myself, you miss 100% of the shots that you never take.
Yeah.
And I definitely, through college, I definitely had that fear. And I would never submit. I would never, to all the little projects I had in college. I was like, there's no way I would ever win that. There's no way. And so I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I think it just took growing and maturing a little bit, and then, getting to the point with my photography journey where I felt like maybe I found my voice.
Yeah.
Um, and then that definitely helped. But I mean, also, it's just nobody knows you submitted, so nobody knows if you don't win, you know what I mean?
Totally. Right? Yeah.
And then if you
Ex-
do, it's icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And I
I
definitely
love that.
tell myself that, I never, whenever I do submit to a competition, my expectations are always, because there's so much talent out there, and
Yeah.
photography is subjective. So you
Yeah.
never know what the judging panel is looking for, what they're
Yeah.
drawn to. And so you just go into it saying, let's just see what happens.
Totally. I
And then
love that. That's
sometimes you
good
get
advice.
those fun emails that something fun happened.
Totally. You're like, yeah, I did it. I love it. I love it. So AI is really taking the world by storm right now, especially when
Yeah.
it comes to being a digital medium and something that photographers can maybe start playing with a little bit too. Have you played much with it, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't done a ton in regards to true, I think, AI. I mean, I definitely use the generative fill
Yep.
in Photoshop now to remove unwanted things from a scene. Um, I use a little plugin called Pixel Squid,
Yep.
and I think these are 3D generated images, so I don't really know how much AI that is. But I'll pull if I am doing some sort of fantastical scene and need like I mean, really anything, like a
Yeah.
fish or something. I can pull a fish in and then make it fit into my scene. So that's really as far as I've dabbled. But just in general, I feel like, this is the future, and we've kind of got to learn to embrace it a little bit and not be scared of it.
Yeah.
And, one thing I also think is AI doesn't have ideas. AI
Yes.
can't go out into a field and meet a family,
No.
you know. So I don't really
If it
think,
does, it gives them a lot of extra fingers and hands.
yeah, right. So I don't really feel scared of it in the aspect of it completely wiping out anything we're doing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I've been
Yeah.
playing with it a little bit. I've been using Midjourney. I
Okay.
think it's called Discord on or Discord, Midjourney, whatever it's called. But I make backdrops with it, and I've figured out how to like give it the prompts to create these really incredible backdrops that I've been using to Photoshop myself into things.
Oh, very
And it's
cool.
been so fun. And yeah, that's one thing that I've been really playing with. And I'm like, it's such a really great tool. I think as long as you're not relying on it, like as you use it as something to, like, what can I make out of this? You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like, it's an ingredient or a
Yeah.
tool, right?
I should definitely I should definitely give it a try.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that one thing I struggle with too is as a photographer is, well, is it, okay to merge? Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes it feels
Exactly.
like everything might need to be photographic in nature, and is this
Exactly.
okay? Or I couldn't enter this in a competition. Not that that's why I
Exactly.
create it, but
Yeah.
because it has that. And so I feel like those have limited me from trying, but I
Yeah.
keep hearing from so many people that I would really love it.
Yeah,
So I need to try it.
I think you would, and I had the same struggle myself because I was like, I've always had that like, I will buy all the props, I will set up the scene, I will do that, and then I was like, okay, well, why don't I just try this? And I don't
Hmm.
have to show anybody. If this doesn't work out, I don't have to show anybody. And I really started to like the results, but I also I had the same sort of feeling like, am I really an artist if I'm using AI?
Right.
Right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I was like, well, if I would say if I am using it as a backdrop and I'm altering it in ways that I am creating the art with it, yes. But if I'm just simply plopping myself in there or I'm just grabbing it and putting a prompt in, I don't know if that's really my art. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like because
Yeah.
I feel like I have like this very gray area of where I'm sort of navigating with AI as an artist and how I fit in with it. But I agree,
Exactly.
like, right? Like it's because it's so new.
Yeah, and it does. It feels like this fine line of like, well, and where even does this art belong? Do
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
And what's really interesting is a lot of the backdrops that you see from these backdrop companies have been created with
yes.
AI. So we're
Yes,
buying them as physical backdrops, but they're still created with AI. So I'm like,
exactly.
well,
What's
if
the
I
difference?
don't, what's the difference? Exactly,
Yeah.
right? Like, so if I bought a AI generated backdrop and used that as real, but then did my scene on it and entered that in a competition, would I still be able to use it?
Hey, I've never thought
Right?
about that, but that's so true. Yeah.
Right. So it's just like it's so interesting, like all these, I don't know, all these new rules and all these old rules, and
I know.
it's a wild west.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, I do feel like my strength lies mostly with with the editing and
Yeah.
so that's where I do enjoy creating more
Yeah.
than I want to spend 2 hours
Hmm.
setting up a scene and
Yeah.
then have to clean it up. I would
Yeah.
rather use these, the design,
Yeah.
the computer animation, the AI, the stuff like that. So,
Yeah. One thing I have noticed with it is I'm actually with the Discord Midjourney. I'm actually on the paid program
okay.
because what happened is so I went in there and I was like trying it out, trying the free one, and anybody can see what you're creating and anybody can download what you're creating.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, oh, like I don't know if I want that. Like
Sure.
I will pay for privacy. And so I'm on the paid program with it now where I just like create what I want. It goes into my file. No one else ever sees it. And I can do whatever I want with it. But that was a really interesting learning curve of feeling like all of a sudden, like you're on there. And so you're seeing everybody else's. And then, but you can see
Oh,
everyone's like starting to download and take your stuff. And you're just like, oh, but like, is this my stuff though? I made this. Is it my stuff though? Or does this belong
yeah.
to you? Like, it was just so very, it was weird. It was a weird feeling where I
Oh, that's
felt like
so
I made,
interesting.
right? Like, so that
Yeah.
was just sort of something that I went through that I was like, well, should I pay for it? I'm like, well, I'm going to pay for it, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just been, yeah, it's been interesting, my journey with AI and feelings. And is this good? Is this bad? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
try it. I need to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I do.
Totally. All right. Let me see. I'll grab another question. All right. So let us talk about finding your creative voice or your creative vision. And what advice would you have for someone who's maybe struggling to find their creative voice?
Oh gosh, good question. Um, I would just say just keep shooting. I
Yeah.
mean, just it's it's one of those things I think that, there's no magic one thing I think that helps you find it. I just think it's just part of your journey and it's ever evolving.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know how good of an answer that is to that question, but yeah, I think that's one of the toughest things as a photographer and as an artist is really just finding that and you
Yeah.
know and staying with it. But
And
yeah,
I think we're also scared to evolve. That's been my experience is I kind of for the first maybe 10 years or so, I really got myself into this is how I shoot, this is how I edit, and this is like my milk and honey factory. Whereas
sure.
like I've got a great process. Like it's streamlined, but did I feel creative? No. Like I felt like I was just really pumping things out. Even though my work was
Sure.
beautiful, it wasn't inspirational to me.
Right.
And so I think that often we can put ourselves in a box and not deviate from things, and then we get a little bored
Sure.
and it gets a little scary to admit like I'm not enjoying this anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
what do I do now? Like how do I make this so I love it, but will I still have clients because they're booking me for this one style?
Right.
Right? So you kind of just get into this little self-imposed box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've definitely felt that. I feel like I'm very much known for families for this outdoor sunset work.
Yep.
But the past couple years, I've really started loving like studio stuff too. I still love outdoor, of course I do, but I'm like, ooh, like this is fun. I can move these
Right?
lights around and like do all this really cool stuff. And, yeah, so I put it out there, but most people still want to book me for
Yeah.
the outdoor stuff.
I know,
Which,
I know. I actually just did a model call because I've actually I'm just coming off a year and a half sabbatical where I just didn't book any photography
oh,
clients.
good for
And so
you.
yeah, thank you. I'll be coming back probably September-ish.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I want to do some model calls just to like get my juices flowing and like get back in the field, like literally the field.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, but it's interesting because I love doing it. It's just that I find that I'm really a slow editor, and so getting these
Me
images
too.
back, it ends up feeling like a have to, and I'm like, oh man, now I'm backed up on free editing,
Hmm.
and like I'm having a hard time figuring out where my sweet spot is with that. So do you have any advice on that?
Yeah. Well, I'm probably a bad person to ask because I'm also a very slow editor. And I'm often like, gosh, like maybe I should outsource this, but it's the one
Right?
thing that like I can't
I
let go.
know. I
I
know.
I can't do it. So, yeah, I don't know if I have a good answer for that.
Yeah.
I do try. I have to put this like cap on, this like business cap on when I edit those, and I do have to
Yeah.
just remind myself like, you time is money here, so
Yeah.
we've got to we can't do, every image super creative and just maybe
Yeah.
taking one or two and doing the, something very creative and the rest just kind of have to be a rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Honestly, I think okay, I love that because I've always felt like, am I doing something wrong with this? Like because I love model calling. I love being in the field. I love it to the point where I have to just sit down and cull because I overshoot.
Okay.
And then I'm like, okay, now I'm overwhelmed because I've overshot this. And now I feel like I have to give them a whole bunch. But now because I want to give them a whole bunch, it's going to take longer. And now it feels like I have to do this. And this
Yes.
was supposed to be a get to do this, not a have to do this. Like this was
Right.
supposed to be my fun, creative project. And now
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, now I'm just resentful. And I'm not sure who I'm resentful for. If I'm resentful for me for putting myself in the situation, or I'm like resentful for them just wanting their images that they should, of
Yeah.
course, want, right?
Yeah. No,
What did they do?
I've definitely felt that before. I know. I know. I feel like the perfect thing would be, especially for people, like us, it's like a 5 image return where you get to just
Yeah.
really pour it all into 5 images.
Yeah.
And then, you know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. And then hold yourself to that. I think that's the problem is because like I'll be like, okay, well, I model called, but here's 45.
right.
And I'm like, okay, Lisa, come on. Of
I
course you're
know.
feeling overwhelmed. Right?
Yes. I know, but we're so emotionally attached to all of those images. And
Yeah.
then we want our client to feel that too. And yes,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah. Or and you don't want the situation of them coming back and going, "Oh, is there any more?" Or
Right.
and then you're like, "Well, I don't want to have to go through them a second time."
Yes.
So it's just yeah, I guess just get myself in these pickles and then I overthink it and then I do nothing.
I know. Frozen by the overwhelmingness.
Seriously, right? It's just this freeze. Anywho, I'm working on that, guys. What advice would you have for someone maybe struggling to stay organized and managing files as a photographer creative? Do you have any like good organization tips?
Mm, that's also a tough one. I am not the most organized person. Excuse me. Gosh. I mean, I use an external hard drive,
Yeah.
just to keep my computer kind of free and not bogged down. And then everything is organized by year.
Yeah.
So right now I'm 2024. And then I do have like a folder for client work, folder for personal work,
Yeah.
and then, kind of keep it like that. That's pretty basic, but
Yeah.
that's kind of how I do it.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not probably the best person to get organizational advice.
Well, it's funny because in my former life, I was an event planner, which my family still laughs about because I'm literally the most not organized person at all. But I
Oh
just
my gosh.
care a lot. So
Sure.
I would just like my heart would be bigger than my organizational skills. So it would
Uh-huh.
be perfect. but only because I cared so much.
Yeah.
So where I struggle is with all of the overlays and like
Oh,
all like
yeah.
right and all the things that I'm downloading. Like I'm just like, okay, I don't and yeah, so I'm working on my organization with
Yeah.
keeping that. So if I have a system, I will let you know
Okay.
because I'm working on it too.
I know. I do have an overlay folder and then a composite, image folder. But what I'm guilty of is downloading it and leaving it in that downloads folder.
Right?
And then 3 months later, I'm like, wait, I have that.
Yeah.
And then I'm searching.
Yeah. Yeah. What I started doing is I actually, because I would bog my computer down with so many downloads, is I now switched the download folder from Chrome into an external hard drive.
Okay.
So
Ooh.
it will only download onto the external hard drive to this specific folder. So if it's not plugged in, I can't download anything and nothing
Okay.
downloads. So it's like, okay, so I can no longer bug up my computer because I've got that plugged in. So if you go into Chrome settings, you can do that. Because I was
Very
like,
cool.
I constantly, like, I would have like 300 gigs just like of downloads all the time,
Yes.
tutorials, all the things, right?
Uh-huh. Oh, that's
So
good to
silly.
know. I'll have to look into that.
All right. So are you ready for our lightning round?
Sure.
Okay. If you like to cook, what do you like to cook the most?
Tacos.
You know what's so funny? That is like such a common answer. I
Oh,
love
I'm
that.
sure.
Yeah. Everyone, who doesn't love tacos?
I know. So easy, so good.
Right? Um, what's the best gift you've ever received?
Oh gosh. For Christmas, the year I moved to New York City, my parents got me a dog.
Oh,
Um, and that was probably the best gift I've ever
oh,
received. I
that's awesome.
know.
I love that. Where do you feel most centered and happy?
At home with my
Mm.
family. Yeah.
When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
An animator for Disney.
Yeah. I was like, I knew
Yeah.
that. What three things do you want to be remembered for?
Oh gosh. I think love, kindness, and compassion.
Good ones. Do you have any personal projects going on right now? And if you do, what is it?
Ooh. I actually don't. I've just been working on a lot of stuff for my business.
Yeah.
So I haven't done a personal project, but like I mentioned earlier, I do try once a month to create something for myself. So I actually just took a self-portrait this morning, which I haven't done in a year and a half.
Ah,
So we'll
I
see.
love that. I love that. It's so funny because as of date, what really just came out this week was Taylor Swift's new album. And so her the cover art for the Tortured Poet Society. I want to try that. I want to try doing a shoot like that with myself
Ooh,
and do a
yeah.
self-portrait. Like I think that'd be fun, right?
It would be fun.
Yeah. So that's my next personal project I
Super
think I'm gonna
creative.
try.
Okay. Mine wasn't that creative, but I did it.
I love it. That's step one. Just get in front of the
Yes.
camera, right? So what's been the best piece of business advice you've ever been given?
To value myself, my work, and my time. I mean, I
Mm,
just think that's, again, that fear creeps in and we want to compare ourselves to what everyone else is doing, and we're afraid no one's gonna value us like we value ourselves. But really learning to be like, no, my time, my talent is worth me making a profit and then going for it
yeah, I
and
love
getting
that.
over that fear.
I love that. What advice do you have for maybe someone who's just starting out in photography?
Oh, um, I would say keep shooting. Like I said
Mm,
earlier, just the more you do it, the easier it'll get and the better you'll become. And then stay true to yourself. I mean, definitely it's, awesome to be inspired by other artists and try new techniques, but definitely following what's in your own, heart and gut and life, I think helps you propel faster than trying to mimic others. Exactly.
I love that. So, can you share a little bit what you're going to be teaching for the online family retreat?
Yay! Yeah. So I will be teaching all about fine art studio portraits for children. So we're going to go behind the scenes on a fine art studio portrait and go all about shooting, lighting, styling, and then we're going to do a fine art edit on one of those and have a composite element added in as well. So
Love it.
I'm
Well,
so
I'm so
excited.
excited. So
Me
excited.
too.
So, where can our listeners learn more from you?
Oh, well, I'm on Instagram at Valerie Eidson. And then I have a website, valerieedson.com. I know, very, very creative. So those are probably the best two places where I'm constantly putting out content.
I love that. So, I love to
Yay.
end my interviews just with this last question, and it is, what are
Okay.
you currently curious about or artistically curious about?
Ooh. Oh gosh. I think artistically right now, I'm very curious about lighting and off-camera flash and just really
Mm,
learning more about all the different ways we can bend and shape light.
yeah,
I only have two lights right now, and I really want a third and a fourth and more
yeah,
modifiers. And like, I just have found that I've started to notice it in movies that I
yeah,
watch, like where the lighting is coming from, or just photos you see in magazines, or,
yeah.
anything like that. So,
I love that. It's a good
yeah.
answer. Well, Valerie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. This was fun. I'm looking forward to everything.
You too. Oh, my beautiful friends, I hope you have loved this conversation just as much as I have. I'm sending you so much of my light and my love today and every single day. We will see you next time.